Well, every Monday I'm joined now by three colleagues from the Parliamentary Press Gallery, as usual. Susan Delacourt is a columnist with the Toronto Star, Joël-Denis Bellavance, Parliamentary Bureau Chief for Presse, and John Ivison is a columnist with the National Post and Parliamentary Bureau Chief for Post Media. Good to see you all. Susan, let's talk a little bit to start about the U.S. election tomorrow night. What's on the line for Canada and the outcome?
I guess maybe an end to thinking about it and being consumed by it. And I'm not talking just about the election. Trump has eaten up a lot of oxygen in this government's file. I think, an argument could be made that they might have done a better job in the first term of Justin Trudeau's government if they had not been all consumed with everything Trump and his unpredictability. So I think they're looking for a little peace. I'm not sure they're going to totally get it. Just because Trump, even if Trump is gone, some of the grievances that fed the Trump base are not gone. But I think that clearly there is more of a relationship between this Liberal government and a Democratic regime in the United States. And I think, we are spectators to this, but we have a vested interest as well, too. So I think, I guess maybe we're just looking for a little peace.
All right. Joël-Denis, I suppose there's lots of open possibilities there. If Donald Trump wins again, when a lot of pollsters and predictors say he's not supposed to win again, that he'll get defeated. Imagine if he does win again. That would suggest even more, I would think, authority for him to take on countries like Canada and whoever else. But there's also always the possibility he won't win. So what do you think's at stake for Canada here and whatever the outcome is?
Well, everybody in the political class is hoping for a return to normalcy. Normalcy would be having the United States as a reliable partner, not only as a neighbor and commercial partner, but also in international institutions like the WTO, for example, NATO, NORAD, and the UN as well. Because Canada's influence in the world depends very much in the US being engaged in the world as well. So we're hoping for that. But if you mentioned the possibility if Trump wins, well, I talked to some ministers about that. And the key strategy, if that happens, is that keep the Team Canada approach. Have ministers engage with Congress. Have premiers engage with the governors, for example. And have mayors engage with their US counterparts. So they will be keeping that Team Canada approach that was well executed under the Liberal government in the last 4 years.
Right. So all possibilities on the table, all eventualities, John, being prepared for. What will you be watching for? What do you think's at stake?
Well, if Joe Biden wins, the state visit in December 2016, I guess it was, is going to look very prescient. At the time, it looked like it was a huge mistake because he was invited. He came up after Trump had been elected. Mm-hmm. But the fact, if he wins, then there's already a relationship there, and I think that it will be as comfortable as a pair of old slippers for the Trudeau government to get along with a Biden administration. Clearly, if that goes the other way, it's going to be another long 4 years. And I think the thing that JD just mentioned there about Canada in the world sphere, looking at China in particular, you're looking for the United States to perform a counterweight to China that we can get in behind with our like-minded allies, the UK, the other Five Eye countries, and Trump has just not provided that. He's been absent from the world stage, and I think that Canada needs an active United States as China starts to put itself in a dominant position. I mean, that's its stated goal, to be in a dominant position. Okay. And we need the Americans.
All right, let's move on from that. The possibilities. Like the other thing to watch for is we may not have we may not have an outcome for days to come, and so we may see reaction from the Canadian. We may not know what we have, I suppose, for several days. So lots to continue talking on that. JD, let me turn to you now. And the Bloc leader is making his presence felt in the Commons these days. His motion was defeated today to have Justin Trudeau apologize for the fact his father invoked the War Measures Act during the October crisis 50 years ago. And he and the Conservatives stay both putting the heat on the Prime Minister over how seriously he really does support the notion of freedom of expression in the wake of those terrorist attacks in France over the past couple of weeks. What's Blanchet trying to do here?
Well, obviously, he's trying to paint the prime minister as a weak leader defending our rights, basic rights like freedom of expression and all that. He's trying to, I think he's preparing the next federal election. Clearly, wanted to brush the prime minister as a weak leader, not defending our basic values and not defending traditional allies like France. Uh, the statements from the prime minister has had huge echo in France. And people are not very happy about the fact that the prime minister did not take a more hard stance on defending freedom of expression against the Islamic integrist attack that took place in France. So basically, Mr. Blanchet wants to secure that position as being the real defender of Quebec, the Quebec people, their values that are closely more oriented with France.
Susan, what are your thoughts here? Is Mr. Blanchet simply making mischief here, or has he put the Prime Minister in a position where he needs to provide a little more clarity to what exactly he's prepared to defend by way of free speech?
So this isn't the first or last time, I guess, but I am sitting here thinking, has the world gone mad? Because I too would like the Prime Minister to speak up more for the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and it would be about Quebec's secularism law, which Blanchet supports. Right now, that case is before the courts. Yep. A cynical person might think that Mr. Blanchet is up on his hind two legs about the Charter of Rights and Freedoms today, because it's the Quebec government and the Bloc Québécois, to me, on the secularism thing, that have not looked all that strong. And I think a lot of charter enthusiasts for quite a while have been hoping that Trudeau would speak out more strongly against that too. Right. He has not. So it did feel a little bit like the world upside down today.
John, put the world upside right for us.
Well, I think that Trudeau is vulnerable on this subject, not just for Bloc supporters, but also Conservatives and people who are worried about freedom of expression. I think that Trudeau, as is his wont, tries to be on all sides of every argument so that nobody's offended. But I think when you say, "I condemn the terrorist attacks," but whatever you say after "but" means that you haven't gone far enough. And he invoked the idea, Oliver Wendell Holmes' use of "you can't shout fire in a crowded cinema." There are limitations on freedom of speech, and Holmes was a judge in a Supreme Court case which was about First Amendment rights. I don't think you can use that case. I mean, that was later amended to say that you can't call for lawless acts to take place. And this was not a lawless act. Showing cartoons to a classroom of students to discuss the idea of expression, freedom of expression, was not a lawless act. And I think, therefore, the Prime Minister should have come down harder, as he should have done in the University of Ottawa case, which Blanchet is also after him on.
Right.
And, I do think that there's going to be ground made here that quotes that Trudeau's making now will be brought back to haunt him during a general election.
All right, we shall see. Susan, let me turn to you. Peter Mackay lost the bid for the leadership of the Conservative Party to Aaron O'Toole, announced today he'll not be running in the next election. Surprised by that, or is that what we expected?
I am not surprised now. I think if he had said this in the days after, remember, in the days after he lost unexpectedly, he still said that he was going to do it, or that he was leaning quite heavily that way. But I think this is a sign that the bitterness of the defeat is still there. It was put in very nice language, but I think the bitterness is still there, and I think it's a wound maybe unhealed in the Conservative ranks.
John, what are your thoughts on this decision? Any surprise to you?
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not surprised. I think Aaron O'Toole will probably be mightily relieved that Peter Mackay is not standing behind him, because it was quite a bitter fight. And I do think that Mackay was really cut by the decision of the members. It would have been very hard for him to come back and run in the next Parliament, I think.
All right. JD, what about you? Quelle surprise or no surprise?
A bit of a surprise, because I had heard that Mr. Mackay was thinking about coming back, but if his decision not to come back, that means that his political career is definitely over. He's not going to come back ever. I think that's the end of his career, because I think the next election would have been the right moment to come back to Ottawa.
All right. We'll leave it at that. Thank you all for your time. We'll talk again. Take care.
Take care, Peter.